I can give you guys some examples of why CEIs are very important to me. I remember this one case involved Native Americans. We had pretty often court sessions with them. I was the last person to get involved. I was with Lisa Perry. And one lawyer, who was a pretty good friend of mine, was also involved. The TPR had already been in there and they had taken their kids, and the judge had a question for them, for the parents. And the judge asked them, "Are you a member of the tribe?" And the interpreter signed, "Are you registered to a tribe?" Oh, did you register to a tribe? And the aunt replied back, "No." And there was probably about 20 people in the courtroom. And Lisa, she's magic when she signs. You need to write down the name of your tribe. And they responded back, "When you were born, my mom signed for me." I could just hear all the audience members like take a deep breath. And we couldn't finish because there's a law that if Native Americans involved with a tribe, the law states, in Wisconsin, the law states that if Native Americans, their tribe has to be involved with the white in the court, with the Caucasians in the courtrooms. And the foster parents didn't expect this. And they thought it was going to go their way, and it didn't happen. So their case got postponed to another time because they needed to have their tribe involved. Because they know the culture. They know how to take care and what's their norms and traditions. So they made a deal with the foster parents that they'd stay with them in the summer. So because they didn't grow up knowing their culture. It was a very interesting case. It was just a simple sign of register that threw it off. Think of any other? There's so many different situations. It should be 50-50. It shouldn't be the only one presenting. So suppose someone's in a prison, and they're about to be let out of prison. What happens with that?
They go on probation? It's a little bit different.
Actually, that's
Protocol?
interesting. Probation is someone who's in jail, is related to someone who's in jail.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not prison. If they're in prison, it's called parole.
Oh, okay.
It has to be over 1 year that they're in. And plus now parole is kind of like an old term. It's extended supervision. Oh, I didn't realize that. The term was changing. I've seen that term, but I just didn't realize it.
Huh.
Mike, can you explain some of your experiences? Trying to think which one's the best. Is it with a CDI always a smooth process? When it's with a PO, it's never really easy. Whenever they break a law, the parole officer always is judging them. When they go out of jail, they're always being monitored when they get out. You've lost a lot of permissions with your life and things, your abilities to do. They pretty much control your life, and you're not really free. In some ways, it's a little bit worse than jail. If you want to go there, you have to come and talk to your parole officer, and he has to make the decision. They can walk into your house and tell you how to change it. If you have pictures on the wall, they can tell you to take it down. They don't like the way it looks. So, the sex offenders, they can't have pictures. They can't have anything with women. There's just many things that they can't have. If they want their girlfriend to come over, she can't come over. They have to ask permission first. They can't live close to a school area. Nope.
Park?
They can't
Go to a park?
They can't go to a park. If they want to drive, it's up to their parole officer. If they want to even have sex, they have to ask permission. I'm not kidding. Nope, not kidding. Yep. If you want to date someone, you have to talk to the PO first. The PO then has to go and meet the person and tell them about who they're wanting to date. Do you know about him? Do you know they did this and this? And they describe everything.
So if a boy that was 18 had sex with a girl that was 16, he's automatically labeled as a sex offender, correct? So they have to list everything?
Yep, you're right.
So they still have to follow that?
Well, it depends. It depends on their punishment. Sometimes they have to register with the Department of Corrections for like 15 years and then they're finished. Something like that when they're like 18. But sometimes it could be forever, and most of them are forever.
You know, like parents get really offended and say, you had sex with my girl, you should be punished. So he has to live with that for the rest of his life, right? And be labeled it as a sex offender?
I've experienced a lot with sex offender cases. Some of them get sentenced for for 1 year or 15 years. I remember one guy who said, I thought she was 18. I met her in a bar. I thought she was 18. So the person who facilitates that group gave him a warning. They told him, anybody who meets a girl, you must ask for their driver's license. They give them a warning, you should ask them for their driver's license. Because really, it happens to a lot of guys. Because now look at them, girls look like they're 16. Because girls who really are 16, do they even look like they're 16? They fool you. FDA controls all the food permission, so hormones. So the hormones develop in the person to make them look older than what they are, or younger. Affects the way they look. I have interpreted other situations. I can remember this one time the client was pissed off. The PO, his parole officer was giving him a hard time. If he did anything wrong, he would send him right back to jail. You have to document everything. And then he'd go back to the court and they decide if he had broken a law again and was sent back to jail or not. Typically, meetings with appeals are pretty much common. They'll ask where you've been, where are you working, are you working in the same place, do you have a car, do you have any contact with police, have they pulled you over? You'd think those questions were pretty simple, but anything can happen. I remember one time I was sitting in an appeal meeting. It was with a sex offender. He was a child molester. So, of course, he can't be near kids. And the PO would watch him. So the PO asked him, what did you do in the last 2 weeks? Oh, I went to this party at my friend's house. His friend's kids were there. It was a family party. PO arrested him, took him right back to jail. On the spot. It was really a mistake that you didn't think the kids were gonna show up.
Did that meeting with the PO happen at home or at a police station? Where did it happen?
At the office.
At the PO building.
Typically it's at the building, at a building. They do, parole officers do home visits, surprise home visits. And they have rules where they have like 5 or 6 times to visit them. And they can just bust them there.
I'm sure you've seen that. Typically what they do is they do one home visit and one office visit. Once a month though.
Have you experienced working with deaf lawyers or judges that you have to go and interpret for that kind of situation?